Every afternoon, just as the sun began to soften, old Miriam walked to the park. She moved slowly, her hand resting on the wooden handle of her walking stick. The path was familiar to her. She knew every crack in the pavement, every root that pushed up through the ground. When she reached the old oak tree at the center of the park, Miriam stopped. She stood there for a moment, looking up at its branches. The tree was older than anyone in town. Its trunk was wide and rough, and its branches spread out like arms reaching for the sky. Tied to those branches were notes. Hundreds of them. Some were new, their white paper still bright. Others were old and yellow, the ink fading in the sun and rain. The notes fluttered gently in the afternoon breeze, like leaves that had learned to hold on. Miriam sat down on the wooden bench beneath the tree. This was her spot. She had been coming here for 3 years now, ever since her husband Joseph passed away. Every day, rain or shine, she sat on this bench and watched the notes dance in the wind. She remembered the day the tree became something special. It was a spring morning, and a young girl named Lily had come to the park with her mother. Lily was maybe 7 years old, with bright eyes and hair in 2 braids. She had lost her grandmother, and she was sad in a way that children should never have to be. Lily's mother had brought a small piece of paper and a piece of string. She helped Lily write a message to her grandmother, telling her that she missed her and loved her. Then they tied it to a low branch of the oak tree. The next day, another person saw the note. A young man who had lost his job. He wrote his own note about hope and tied it to another branch. Then an elderly woman, missing her sister who had moved far away. Then a teenager, nervous about starting a new school. Within weeks, the tree was covered in notes. People came from all over town. They wrote messages to loved ones who had died. They wrote about their dreams. They wrote about their fears. They wrote about things they wished they had said, or things they still hoped to do. Miriam had written her first note 3 months after Joseph died. She had sat on this very bench with a blank piece of paper in her hands. For an hour she had held it, unable to write anything. What could she say to a man she had loved for 47 years? What words could possibly matter now? Finally, she wrote just 3 words, "I miss you." She tied that note to a branch low enough for her to reach. And then she sat down and cried. Not sad tears, exactly. They were something else. Tears of letting go, maybe. Tears of sharing. Over time, Miriam noticed something. People came to the tree at all hours. In the early morning, before work, a businessman in a suit would stand by the tree for exactly 5 minutes, reading notes. A mother came with her baby in a stroller, pointing at the fluttering papers. Teenagers came after school, sometimes laughing, sometimes serious. And they all added notes. The tree grew fuller. People started bringing ribbons, tying them with the notes. Some brought small flowers and placed them at the base of the tree. The park workers, instead of removing the notes, protected them. One Tuesday afternoon, a young woman sat down next to Miriam on the bench. She was perhaps 25, with tired eyes and a gentle smile. "Is this your first time here?" Miriam asked. The woman nodded. "My friend told me about this place. She said I should come." Miriam waited. She had learned that people talked when they were ready. "My mother died 2 months ago," the woman said quietly. "I don't know how to. I don't know what to do with all these feelings." Miriam reached over and touched the woman's hand. Just for a moment. "You don't have to do anything with them," she said. "You just have to let them be." The woman looked at the tree. "Does it help?" Writing a note. Miriam thought about this. She thought about her 3 words, still tied somewhere in the branches. "It helps me," she said. "Not because I think Joseph reads it. I don't know if he can. But because someone else might. Someone else might read 'I miss you' and know they're not alone in missing someone." The woman nodded slowly. She stood up and walked to a small table nearby where paper and string were always kept, left by kind strangers who wanted to help. She wrote her note. Miriam could not see what it said. The woman tied it to a branch, then turned and smiled at Miriam. It was a small smile, fragile like new grass. But it was real. "Thank you," the woman said. Miriam nodded. "Come back tomorrow. The bench is always here." The woman left, walking slowly back toward the street. Miriam watched her go. Then she looked back at the tree. Every note on that tree was a heart. Every piece of paper was a person saying, I was here. I loved. I lost. I hoped. I feared. I mattered. On Thursday, something unusual happened. A man came to the tree with a ladder. He was maybe 40, with kind eyes and paint on his hands. He set up the ladder carefully and climbed up to the highest branches. People stopped to watch. Was he removing notes? Was the city finally clearing the tree? But no. The man was tying something. A note, yes, but he was also tying something else. From his pocket, he took a small bell. A tiny silver bell, the kind that might have been on a cat's collar once. He tied it to a branch near his note. When he climbed down, Miriam called to him. Young man, what was that? He walked over to her. A bell, he said. For my son. He passed away 3 years ago. He was only 5. He loved bells. Any kind of bell. He would ring them and laugh. Miriam's eyes filled with tears. I'm so sorry. The man nodded. I come here every year on his birthday. This year I wanted to leave something that made a sound. So when the wind blows, the bell rings. And I pretend he's laughing. The man walked away. Miriam sat on the bench until the sun went down, listening to the tiny bell ring softly in the breeze. The next morning, there were more bells. Small ones in all different tones. People had seen the man's bell, had understood, had added their own. By the end of the week, the tree sang in the wind. Not loudly, gently. A soft chorus of tiny rings and chimes. Miriam brought her own bell on Saturday. It was an old one from her kitchen, a small brass bell she used to ring when dinner was ready. Joseph would come in from the garden, washing his hands at the sink, smiling at the sound. She tied it to a branch near her note. When the wind blew, her bell rang with all the others. It was a sweet sound, full of memory. Summer came. The tree was heavy with green leaves, and the notes and bells were almost hidden among them. But people knew they were there. They came anyway, standing close, listening to the soft music. One hot afternoon, a group of children ran through the park. They were playing some game, chasing each other, laughing. One little boy stopped at the tree. He was maybe 6, with dirt on his knees and a missing front tooth. He stood very still, listening. His mother called to him, Marco, come on. But Marco didn't move. He was staring up at the branches, his head tilted. His mother walked back to him. What is it, honey? Mommy, he whispered. The tree is singing. The mother looked up at the notes and bells. She had heard about this tree, of course. Everyone in town had. But she had never really stopped to see it, to hear it. It is singing, she said softly. It's singing all the stories. Marco nodded seriously. Can we leave a note? What should we write? The mother thought for a moment. How about, thank you, for the song. They wrote it together, the mother guiding Marco's small hand. They tied it to a low branch where even a little boy could reach. Marco waved goodbye to the tree as they left. Miriam watched this from her bench. She smiled. The tree was passing to a new generation now. The children would keep it alive. They would add their own notes, their own bells, their own memories. Fall came. The leaves turned gold and red and brown. They fell gently, covering the ground beneath the tree in a soft carpet. The notes and bells became visible again, hanging among the bare branches. Miriam still came every afternoon. She was slower now, a little more tired. But she came. One day in October, a woman approached her. She was maybe 50, with gray hair and glasses. She looked familiar, but Miriam could not place her. Excuse me, the woman said. Do you remember me? About 6 months ago, I came here. My mother had just died. You sat with me. Miriam looked at her carefully. Yes, the young woman with the tired eyes. But her eyes were not tired now. They were bright. I remember, Miriam said. The woman smiled. I wanted to thank you. Your words that day, they helped me more than you know. I started coming here every week, writing notes, reading other people's notes. It became my place. She sat down next to Miriam. I brought my daughter here last week. She's 8. She wanted to leave a note for her grandmother, the one she never met. That's beautiful, Miriam said. She wrote, Grandma, I hope you can see me from heaven. I'm learning to play the piano like you did. The two women sat together in comfortable silence, watching the notes flutter. Winter arrived cold and white. Snow covered the park, and the tree stood dark against the white ground. But the notes were still there, tied securely. The bells were still there, their soft chimes muffled slightly by snow. Miriam's daughter came to visit for the holidays. She lived in another city now, with her own family. She came to the park with Miriam, walking slowly beside her mother. Mom, you still come here every day? Almost every day, Miriam said. Her daughter looked at the tree. Dad's note is still here somewhere? Miriam nodded. Somewhere. I don't know which one it is anymore. There are too many, but I know it's here. Her daughter was quiet for a moment. I miss him too. I know you do, sweetheart. They sat on the bench together. The wind blew and the bells rang softly. Mom, what happens when the tree gets too full? When there's no more room for notes? Miriam had thought about this. The notes will fall off, I suppose. Some already have. They get old, the string breaks, they fall to the ground. People pick them up sometimes. Read them. Tie them back. But if they don't, maybe that's okay too. Maybe the notes don't need to last forever. Just long enough to say what needed to be said. Her daughter leaned against her. You're wise, Mom. No, Miriam said. I'm just old. The tree taught me. That night, Miriam dreamed of Joseph. They were young again, walking through the park. The tree was small then, just a young oak. They sat beneath it and talked about their future. About children, about dreams, about growing old together. You kept your promise, Joseph said in the dream. You grew old. I miss you, Miriam said. I know, but look at all the love you've found. Look at all the hearts that tree holds. You're part of that. Miriam woke up crying, but they were not sad tears. They were the other kind. Spring came again. The tree budded, then bloomed with new leaves. The notes and bells were half hidden again, but people knew they were there. A young couple came to the tree on their wedding day. She wore a simple white dress. He wore a suit. They tied a note together, promising to love each other forever. A teacher brought her class of second graders. Each child wrote a note about something they loved. One boy wrote about his dog. One girl wrote about her grandmother's cookies. They tied them carefully, proud of their contribution. A man in a wheelchair came with his daughter. He could not reach the branches, so his daughter tied the note for him. It said, "To my legs, which carried me for 60 years. Thank you. Rest now." Miriam saw all of this from her bench. She was part of the tree now, part of its story. People knew her. They called her the Tree Lady, or the Bench Lady, or just Miriam. Children waved to her. Adults nodded and smiled. One afternoon in late spring, Miriam did not come to the park. The bench was empty. People noticed. They looked at the empty bench and felt a small worry in their hearts. The next day, Miriam's daughter came instead. She sat on the bench, looking at the tree. She had a note in her hand. People approached her carefully. "Is Miriam okay?" they asked. Miriam's daughter smiled, though her eyes were wet. "She passed away yesterday," she said softly. In her sleep. Peacefully. There was a moment of silence among the people gathered near the tree. "She loved this place," her daughter continued. "She loved all of you, even though she never knew most of your names." She stood up and walked to the tree. She tied the note she was holding to a branch near the bottom, where everyone could see it. The note said, "Thank you for the music. I'm with Joseph now." The small bell from their kitchen rang softly in the wind. That afternoon, more people came to the tree than ever before. They came with notes. They came with bells. They came with flowers to lay at the base. They came with stories about Miriam, about how she had sat on that bench every day, about how she had listened, about how she had smiled at their children. The tree filled with new notes, new bells, new ribbons. It sang louder than ever. And somewhere in the branches, among all the hearts and hopes and memories, Miriam's 3 simple words still hung, "I miss you." But now, when the wind blew and the bells rang, it sounded less like missing and more like remembering. Less like goodbye and more like thank you. The memory tree stood in the center of the park, holding all the stories, singing all the songs, reminding everyone who passed by that love does not end. It just changes. It becomes notes on a tree. It becomes bells in the wind. It becomes a bench where a kind woman once sat, waiting to hold your hand for just a moment. The tree still stands there today. If you ever visit that town, you should go see it. Sit on the bench for a while. Listen to the bells. Read a few notes. Maybe leave one of your own. You never know who might read it. You never know whose heart might need your words on that particular day. That is the secret of the memory tree. It holds everything, and it gives everything back, one soft chime at a time.